I'm going to go ahead and, what'd you say?
902 over here.
Oh,
I
I can
think so too. You're on the West Coast. Like I
East
got
Coast.
late nights.
Oh, man.
Speaking of 902, totally off subject, but are there any 90210 fans in the house? I'm a little excited about the new season starting.
I watched it a little bit, but I wasn't like really into it, so not quite.
Okay, well, I watched every episode and I'm like super excited.
But
I like saw that, like I would totally be watching this with my girlfriends if I lived back in New York. So
y'all should Zoom and watch it.
What's that?
You should Zoom and watch it.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, Katie or Kendra, does anybody want to kick off tonight? I talk a lot.
Oh, Kendra, you're muted.
Okay, well, sure. Welcome, everybody. What is today? August 6th already? Holy moly. We are super excited to be on here with you tonight. We get so excited for this call. We were chatting in our little group text that sometimes we're not as excited about all of our calls. This one gets us super excited. I'm just going to be honest. So we so love spending time with you all, and thank you for making this a priority. We know that as we get closer to school starting and we get continue to do life, that things come up, and we really appreciate that you make this a priority, because that was one of the requirements, and it just shows us that you're all in. And we understand the sacrifice that you're making to be on this call every Tuesday. And we want you to know that we recognize that. And those are the sacrifices it takes to hit your goals. So thank you. With that being said, we also know that there is a little bit of frustration. And so we want to talk about that. We know that a lot of you are doing what you think you're supposed to do. You're committing. You're putting so much effort in, and you're not necessarily seeing these results. So we want to just kind of talk for a minute as a group. We want to hear from you what your pain points are, what you're struggling with. One of the things we also notice, though, is that despite the fact that we talk about this all the time, we know that people are not using their tracker all the time. And so we also want to talk about that. Like, what is it about the tracker that maybe you don't understand? What do you feel like is taking too much time? What's not? What's your holdup about the tracker? And are you really doing weekly assessments of, are you doing what you're supposed to do to move your business forward? I think sometimes we can think we're doing the activities that we're supposed to do, but we're not actually doing them. And so this is why we are such sticklers about this tracker, is not because this is the end all be all, but on the other hand, we sometimes complicate things. And when life is busy and we're pushing for goals and we're making sacrifices, it's important to streamline what we need to do. I know there's a number of coaches that are in here from my team and my downline who also work another job. They are working so that they can leave that other job. And so they do not have all this time to do it. And I keep stressing, this is key. If you sit down and follow this tracker every single solitary day, the compound effect will happen. A couple of the conversations I had this week with my coaches is that they are doing what they're supposed to do on the tracker, but they're not getting the results that they want. And I have to keep reminding you guys that, or at least some of the women on my team, that this is the first time that they have really committed to doing this every single day for multiple days in a row. And we just want to remind you that the compound effect happens when you do this every day over time. Not every day for 7 days, not every day for like 14 days, but every day for day after day after day after day. And you will start to see the effects of what you do this month. You're really going to see it next month, and you keep going, and that's where you're going to see the building. So we don't want you to get discouraged. We want to hear what you're thinking, what you're struggling with, what is working, because we know some of you are having some incredible success too. So let's share a little bit about that tonight.
Hey, Kendra.
Yes.
How you doing?
Good, Beth, Ann, go ahead. There you are.
I'm up on the top. So I haven't used the tracker since the beginning because I was using Teamsy. So this is the start of this group is my first time kind of coming back to it. So it's a little bit different because I was doing both. Teamsy was coming through, so I decided to cancel that subscription and focus on this. So, and it's very helpful. They've really updated it well. I think part of my struggle is for like updating, and we're in the throes of summer right now, so I've got kids, so I'm squeezing things in here left and right. But like where we're updating for Facebook and Instagram. Am I echoing?
Yeah, somebody's echoing.
Is it me?
Let me mute.
Okay, is that better? Is that better? Okay. Are we supposed to do every hit point for like where it says update IG FB story? Because sometimes I don't always have that. I mean, unless that's, I mean, I will try, I'm trying is what I'm saying, but I'm not able to hit all those points. I mean,
so are you asking like every day in your stories, should you have in your stories daily life, a picture of you, a workout clip,
everything,
all of that? What do you all think? I can give my opinion, but what do you all think?
I would say yes.
What was the question? I'm sorry, I didn't.
So on the update, you know, on the bat that we have here,
Mm-hmm.
so the section that says update IG FB story throughout the day. Yeah. So like that, all the bullet points there, should I be doing all of those? I mean, I'm trying because sometimes I just don't feel like I have content for it. So that'll be something I work on if that's like,
yes.
Okay.
I think so. I tell my team that Instagram stories is like a reality TV show, and you know how we get sucked into those, like people just can't stop watching. So yes, I mean, and daily life, honestly, workouts should be daily life for us, right? Making a healthy meal should be daily life. Don't overthink it. Just, you know, what I like to do is if I do a series of videos, I try not to do more than like 4 or 5 videos in a row. Then I have a boomerang, a still before I do more videos, because you just kind of have to figure out, like Abby can do videos all day long and her followers watch her. If I do video after video after video, my people are like checked out, you know? So, but I find that, you know, like I always include something about my boys, always include something about just anything unrelated to fitness, whether it's fashion or whether it's like I have a messy house or this cat is driving me insane, or, you know, like I have a white sectional, you know, like just stuff. Like, I know it sounds really kind of like stupid and a little bit.
People like to watch it.
People like to watch your life. And so, and one of the things I love to do with my stories is ask about my followers. Almost every day I ask a question of my followers, you know, and I like to do like, from time to time, I like to do like 4 or 5 polls in a row. Like, what's your favorite date night? What's your favorite date night? What's your favorite movie? Or where do you go when you just want to unwind and relax? Do you prefer the toilet paper over or under? You know, like just silly stuff. Like, people engage with that and they feel like you have given them an opportunity to connect with them, and it goes a really long way.
Okay.
Somebody might engage in your toilet paper poll today, and they're going to be your coach in 6 months, right, Abby? Abby always says that.
I know. Well, and but then I'll jump in on this because stories are like my favorite. They're my sweet spot, I feel like, and my life is just a hot mess. But in terms of where you're talking about timing, I get that. I have little kids. In fact, I worked out about 2 hours ago now, and I haven't even posted about it yet. And so one of the things that I'll do throughout the day just to maximize my time is I will take like a picture of my shake, even on my Instagram story thing, and I'll just sit it. Or I'll do I'm going to upload all my workout stuff later on tonight when I have time to sit down and do it. So it's important to show the majority of those things. Like, I probably don't do the recognition every single day, but everything else on there I do.
Okay.
Posting it in real time. So if you have a second and you have a great salad, like, take a picture of that or do a workout clip, but don't feel like you have to upload it in the minute. Just make sure you do it that day. And I spread it out throughout the day. So consistently throughout the day, that little circle goes live where people are like, oh, Abby has something new. So they go back and check. So don't like save it all till midnight and upload it at once. But kind of maximize your time. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I wasn't focusing as much on Instagram stories. I am now with this group because when I was at Summit last year, that was kind of the big thing was Instagram, but I have a lot of followers still on Facebook. So I'm trying to do both. I'm doing not as much on Facebook, but I'm trying to do a little more Instagram. I'm getting more people seeing my stories. So I love stories. I just wasn't sure. I mean, I'm trying to hit every bullet point on there, but some days I feel like I just can't check that box off, but I'm trying. I mean, this is probably the hardest I've ever worked in this business. So,
and I want to say that when it comes to stories, so I'm a little bit older and I did not like, this is all new to me. Social media, like when I started my business, I had zero, I didn't even have Instagram, nothing, any like that, because I'm like mid 40s and I always had this belief like nobody cares about what I do all day long. And so it was this real mental block for me. Like, why am I going to share X, Y, or Z? Because nobody gives a crap about any of that. And they're just going to like, who cares, Kendra? And Katie really helped me and challenged me. Like, Kendra, it's not, you have to shift your mindset. It's simply showing what your daily life is. It's not about having this big dramatic thing that everyone is like, so like, they're just like, you have the most important, greatest things to say or anything like that. It's simply like Rachel said, it's just like a little show that you're sharing about your life. And if you struggle with wondering if anybody cares about what you do during the day, so then you hesitate to post, I want to just say, get over that thinking, because that's what I had to do. And Katie challenged me, and I'm challenging you to just start doing it and go for it. And every time I hesitate, I hear her voice going, just post, just share it. It doesn't matter. And it'll be gone in 24 hours. So just a little bit honesty right there if you struggle with that.
Thank you, ladies. Appreciate the input.
And here's what I'll say on Instagram stories, and we can move on, is that do what you like to watch. So like, do not spend all your time going and watching every coach's stories. That's a big waste of your time. But if you are someone who likes like really short and sweet, and when you see like 15 little dots across the screen, you're like, oh my gosh, that's too many, and you turn out, your followers will probably be the same. I, for instance, I'm a history major. I love the context. I like the story. I like to know the whole thing of the day from beginning to end. So if I just see like 4 little things, I'm like, well, what? I don't know what happened. So I like to have more, but that's just me. And that's what I like to watch. So think about what you like and do that and do a mix. So I know like every day I'm going to talk about the business. I'm going to talk about my challenge groups literally every single day in my stories in some form. But I also mix in other things like my kids and what we're eating and like all the random stuff. So that's just a little tip there.
I want to add something too. Well, two things. One, I just want to kind of go back because I know we said that we were going to talk tonight about Second Business Center and adding our husbands, but we decided not to talk about that tonight, just to kind of talk about the pain points and kind of help you where you guys are, because we feel like that's more important right now, where everybody's at. And then next week we can, talk about the Second Business Center and building a spouse and stuff like that. One thing I want to share, because with the recognition piece on your Instagram story, one thing that I've been doing is giving shout outs to people that I like to follow that aren't clients or coaches, and like fashion bloggers that I like, just different moms that I like to follow that are funny or that share funny quotes. And I've just been sharing them and taking them in my story, like, hey, if you want a good laugh, like check her out. Or if you need some help with fashion, check her out. And it's been really great to encourage people in that way as well. So that's just a fun way to kind of share. And people really respond well to that. And next thing you know, they're giving you a shout out on their page, which is really nice too. I'm just trying to look at the questions.
Yeah, I agree. I think honestly, stories are where it's at. I think stories are definitely where it's at. That's where I'm getting. I mean, I don't get much from my posts anymore. They're just kind of there as like for people who do read posts. Almost all of my challengers come from stories.
I would say mine do too now. I see Ashley had asked a question like, what does recognized achievement look like? Is this public or private? And for me, I consider it all. like recognizing someone in the team page, recognizing someone in the accountability group, recognizing someone on Instagram story. I kind of put that, for me at least, I put that in one category.
For me personally, I try to recognize somebody every day in my stories. It might be a challenger, it might be a coach. Like, I might shout out, like somebody said, I think Katie said, like I have a lot of faith-based blogger, poster people that I follow who are not like health and fitness related, and I might just share their post to my story. I think recognition for me personally just means this is not just the Rachel show, and it shows like, that it's a community. Yeah. It is the Rachel show, but you know what I mean.
Carly, I'm trying something new because my challengers don't really like to share necessarily anyway. So I'll sometimes reach out behind the scenes and just like text them or shoot them a message and say like, hey, can I share your stuff? No worry, like no pressure. But what I'm doing for this challenge group is I'm doing Nikes at the end of it. And the way that they can get those is by logging 5 workouts a week, 5 Shakeologies a week, and then they get bonus points if they tag me in their like stories or their posts on social media. So I'm just using those, and if they do that, then I'm sharing them. And so the ones that like that and are incentivized by that do. So I think there's some different ways of, some people just are not comfortable with it, and that's okay. But you can also go pull, like in our team thread right now, there's a bunch of us sharing each other's transformations that we can do on Instagram stories tonight too. So they don't necessarily even have to be your challengers. Go to the Dream Team page or the Dynasty page and say like, hey, what like postpartum moms want to share their results, or like those kinds of things too. It doesn't have to necessarily be your people all the time.
I want to share one last tip for recognition. One of my favorite things to do is like at least once a week, ask for like a non-scale victory, or how did you win the week in your challenge group or whatever. And I will pull what they say and put it into like a cute Instagram story and say, oh, my challengers are rocking it. So-and-so said this, this, and that, and it just shows that, like my people are getting results. Like I told my team today, if you don't have challengers, like MM100 is a big thing, right? So if you don't have challengers yet, or if you don't have a lot, like ask your teammates, like, how's your week 1 going? What's your favorite thing about MM100? Or what progress are you seeing? And you can put that in your stories too. I just like to show people that like they're actually real people that work with me and, like they're actually getting results and things like that. And they love it when you tag them. Like your challengers love it when you tag them.
Do you end up adding their picture to it, or do you just have their quote here?
It just depends. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. It just depends on how much time I have. But you can make it cute either way.
Okay.
And you all, this is part of why we have the pods. You should talk to your pod about you guys going to your teams and gathering some transformation pictures and then sharing them with one another. So that's another way to use your pod to really have practical things and tangible things that you can post.
Does anybody want to grab Kathy's comment about her following isn't huge? She hears from me all the time, so I'll let somebody else take that. Can you see that? She said her following isn't huge, so I feel like I'm going back to the same people. Having said that, I'm getting responses from people I've talked to for several months.
Okay, so I will tell you, I just read something today while I was at my son's soccer practice, and it was a tip that Gary Vaynerchuk shared, and it was a natural way to build your following, and it said search hashtags that are things that you're interested in or love. And then the top 6 that show up, if you have a connection with them, go to their page, follow them, love on one of their posts or comment on one of their posts, each of them, and try to do that with, I think it said like 4 or 5 different hashtags, which honestly didn't take me long at all to do, maybe 15, 20 minutes at the most. But then all of a sudden I started having conversations and connecting with all these people, and then they started following me back. And that was just a really easy, natural way to just build a following with new people. I know a lot of people have been asking about hashtags and organically growing. That's one way that you can do it. And I feel like you have to make connections and build relationships and follow people in order to build your following and to get new people.
And it takes me, I would say, about 3 to 6 months, usually for someone new to follow me who doesn't know me from Adam, to convert into a challenger. Like, I know it takes them time. And so I know you guys, I know my team gets sick of me saying this. So you guys have to, you aren't my team. But is that consistency really, really matters. And these things on the business activity tracker where it's adding, like, even if you're only adding 5 people a day, if you do that for 30 days, that's 150 people that you've added to your network that month. And so exactly what Katie was saying, where I'll do the same thing. Like, I'll go look at some, like, Becky Thompson, I always use her as an example because I love her blog. She, like, hits it right and home for me for faith and motherhood. So I'm looking at her followers. I'm looking at who's engaging on her stuff because I know we'll have things in common. But I think, and I don't know if this resonates with anybody, but I know when I was a new coach, I would spend the majority of my time doing invites and follow-ups to the same, like, 12 people who constantly were ignoring me and not following through. And so you have to just start expanding that network, and don't waste your time on people who are continually ignoring you. You have to keep moving on, because otherwise, guys, you're just going to stay stuck at SC2 the entire month waiting for the 3 people who told you that they would purchase when they got paid. And you need to do your follow-ups for sure, but it's this constant thing of, like, growing your network, having those conversations. And when you do those vital activities every single day, it is that compound effect, like we're talking about, that suddenly builds, where all of a sudden you do have a following that's growing. You do have new people to invite because you have new stories. And one thing that I've noticed is that if I'm posting about what my followers like to see, so I'm really starting to look more at, like, they love when I talk about my marriage. They love when I talk about, like, personal stuff, like my miscarriage. I've gotten really bold with my faith, like certain things. I've noticed my story views are going up, and that's where the magic happens for me, because that's where I'm talking about my challenge group. That's where I'm inviting to coaching really boldly, because they're engaging on my posts and then heading right there. So it's kind of this whole mixed bag that really works together, but you have to give it the time and consistency to do that, if that makes sense.
I have a quick question about the hashtags. A little touch base more as to why we're only using 8 or less than that.
I can answer that. I know, like, the trend with that is always changing, always. At once it was like, you should use up to 30, but not over 30. At one point it was, you should use 20. At one point it was, don't use more than 5. So it's really kind of always changing as Instagram has kind of evolved. So, I mean, even with only adding 5 or 8, as of today, it could be completely different. So, I don't know. I know there was a lot of talk about if you were doing more than 8, people were getting shadow banned and blocked. And
I was just told to use the full 30. So I don't even know. I chatted with a girl, like a Instagram person, and I asked her that, and she's like, yeah, max it out, but make sure they're a mix of high and low numbers. So I don't know. I feel like nobody really knows.
Okay. And then as far as going back to like searching hashtags that you want to be looking at and being a part of, sometimes I feel like all I'm running into is like coaches upon coaches upon coaches, or just these huge pages where I'm like, I just want my people. I don't want these like big Disney page moms with like 10,000 followers that really don't even notice me if I follow them. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. So when you're searching hashtags, you are going to look for accounts that are smaller. I don't look at people who are like 10K. I usually look at 5,000 and below. But I don't like follow them to get them to follow me back. What I do is I go to their posts. And like if it is a Disney mom, or whatever, if that's your niche, your market, you're going to go to one of their posts and look and see who liked that post, right? Okay. That's who you're going to follow, and they're going to be the smaller normal accounts who follow you back. Does that make sense?
Got it. Yes. Yeah.
So you don't go to like Banana Republic and follow people who
Banana Republic,
right? Like you're going to look for smaller accounts. They can still be targeted and very niche-y, but you're not really necessarily following that account. You're following the people that are interested in that account.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Megan, I saw you had a question too about your poll, but I'm not sure if I understand it right. You said the polls, I feel some type of what?
Some type of way. Sorry. Like when you say like a yes or no, Abby answered it well. Like I don't like it when my no's are like higher than my yeses. So I'll get on with my family and my siblings. I'm like, hey y'all, can you go to my store really quick and like say yes, please? So it's not this drastic, ugly looking big no in the middle of my stories.
Never give a negative if it's for coaching or challenge groups or something. Only do negatives if it's like, is my husband being weird right now, or are you short?
Roll on backwards.
Yeah, I never put a negative option if it's like an actual business one.
Got it.
Or like if you're, I mean, like I'm kind of sarcastic, but I might do one like, do you want to join my boot camp? Yes. I wouldn't say join my boot camp, but like, do you want more information? Yes. Or nah, I'm happy being whatever, like, I don't know how I would say that. I can't think right now, but if it is going to be no, like just make it kind of funny or something. But also you gotta own, I mean, like if people say no, that's not a reflection of you.
What some of them are like, is the same.
Oh yeah. You
have a girl that like asks you for information and then she's always like, no. And I'm like, girlfriend, please don't make me look bad. I'm like, I'm about to block you from my stories.
Oh, I've done that lots. Yeah, you got the no voters out there for sure.
Okay, so let's talk more about anything else. What else are you guys struggling with on this? On the tracker, or in your working your business every day. So that means everybody feels like I'm crushing every goal. Ooh, I feel good about it. Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so I think my biggest issue is in terms of like inviting to coaching is how to feel like I'm doing it authentically. I have my list of women who I'm like, yes, that's who I want to work with. And so I'm inviting them, but then on the other side, I want to grow my business. So when I'm inviting to coaching, it just seems like, I mean, I know we kind of already talked about this, and this is probably like a review, so I'm sorry about that, but if there's a specific algorithm that you use to like, I invite these ladies to coaching, or is it okay to just stick with that 20 or 30 and then keep adding to it as you find more people?
So I definitely would stick to those 20 and 30, like I was showing on my list, and then I cross people off that, join me, or that I'm like, no, never mind, they're not going to be a good fit, but constantly adding, because it takes time, just like, getting clients, it takes time with coaches, it takes time building relationships. I'm not one for cold invites, but I will tell you, if there's someone on Instagram that is posting their workouts, posting their meals, they look like a coach, I will ask them, be like, hey girl, I just came across your page. Are you a coach too? And that's all I'll ask them. And they'll be like, what's that? And then I'll respond with, your posts are basically everything like I'm putting out. And so I thought maybe you were a coach as well. And then kind of go from there. But yeah, I mean, you're constantly always adding to that pipeline, because sometimes it takes people a really long time to come around. And if you're not adding and building to that pipeline, eventually you do not have people to invite. And I think that's what happens with that consistency piece, or people feeling like, well, I have nobody for my accountability groups. I have nobody that wants to join my team. It's because you're not constantly adding to that pipeline. And I say pipeline because my husband uses that all the time. He manages for a corporation, and he talks to his sales guys all the time, and it's the same thing for them. Like, they're building their pipeline with their customers and clients, and if they don't have a pipeline in their computer, then they have no upcoming work, or upcoming clients to work with. So it's very similar to how we're running our business. We have to be consistent with building that pipeline, or there's nobody. And I feel like that's where a lot of coaches are at. Like, well, I don't have anyone to invite, or I've already asked everybody. And it's like, that's because you don't have a pipeline. You don't have people that, because you haven't consistently built that.
Here's what I'm going to jump into. And I know, Ashley, you hear me talk about this all the time, so sorry. but you guys have to start talking about coaching if you want working coaches every single day. You really do. And before you feel like you have success. And I know that that's hard. I know that it can feel like really disingenuous or like no one cares when you haven't even had that many paychecks or whatever. But like, honestly, you have to, if people don't even know it's really a thing. I was a challenger for a year and I didn't even know there was a business opportunity because my coach never talked about it. I just honestly thought she ran challenge groups from the goodness of her heart. Truly. I had no clue. And so you have to start like listing out because, and I know we talk about this all the time, it's not super relatable for people who follow, and none of us are big time coaches by any means, but for me to say that I matched my full-time salary and work from home and make more, honestly, that's not really relatable to people right now. Like they want it, but they don't think they can do that. But for you to say like, hey, I had 20 extra bucks this week to go get my nails done or get my hair done or pay for groceries, or maybe you talk about community. Do you know how many people are lonely out there who would love to have friends who are like-minded and push them? Or is coaching helping you level up in your meal planning? It did that for me. I hated meal planning. I never did it. And I was forced to do it when I became a coach. So literally, if it means you physically writing down a list of all the good things that coaching has brought into your life, but you have to start talking about it every single freaking day. Because when you just randomly invite someone to the business and you maybe talk about coaching once a week in your stories, they'll have no clue. But if every day you're just kind of subtly, it might just be a subtle jab of you talking about filling your cup or whatever. Maybe it's a little unfold story series of like, I never did social media and was super, super scared. And look at me, I was hand selected for an internship as a rising leader in this business. Like, talk yourselves up. Give your guys some freaking credit because we see so much potential in you and you're doing the work, but you have to share about it. Otherwise, people just don't know. Or honestly, people think it's like a hobby. I remember recently I told someone how much I actually make. A friend asked me and she was like, oh, I thought you just made like $500 a month. And I was like, no, this is a legit opportunity. And I'm not saying go wave your paychecks around, but just, like, you just have to start sharing about it before you're ready. Otherwise, no one is going to join you. If that makes sense. Does that help?
So would you suggest maybe, so it's not so overwhelming for your viewers, to like maybe do a story series like twice or 3 times a week, and then the other days they would just do like one jab, like one quick thing, so it's not like overwhelming, but it's still present?
I think Rachel and Katie, you guys are both really good at doing this because Ashley sees mine all the time. So do you want to kind of talk about what you do?
About the coaching stories?
Yeah.
Yeah. So at first, I don't know, does everybody have that 22 days of coaching kind of document? It's an image. I have it. I can post it in our group. But I just started there. And like, it was really hard for me to think about, what do I talk about in regards to coaching? And it's not, I never talk about income, honestly. It just icks me out. I do it like once a year, maybe, but I do reference things like Abby said, things that people could relate to, like Thursday, I have a post plan to talk about how Matt and I never used to go on like getaways together because we simply could not afford it, and how we went on one earlier this year and we're planning for one this next year, and like, so, I think that, I think just starting to talk about it and starting to get more comfortable with doing it. And the more that you do it, the more that you're going to think, oh, I can work coaching into this. Jen Guthrie said one time, she said, work the word coach into like every post that you make, which is a little excessive for me, but like it makes sense. Like, every coaching has impacted every single part of my life, my fitness, my finances, my family, my relationship with my husband, my faith, my influence, like my boldness in just being present, my confidence in myself, my purpose, my personality. My personality is the same. It just has come out more, I guess you could say. And so like, those are all things that like other women, just think about somebody who's sitting at home, who's overweight, who's in debt, who is probably wiping bottoms all day, or is working at a job that she doesn't want to be at, is commuting 2 hours a day. Like, just think about all those things and what would be attractive to someone who is in that place. I just go back to where I was personally. I was overweight. I was in debt. I was driving 2 hours a day. Like I was doing a job that I enjoyed, but I didn't love. I didn't feel like I had a ton of purpose. I just went and did my job and came home. Like there was not this community. There was not this sisterhood. There was no travel, like there's so much, and you may not be there yet. I was where you guys are at one point. Abby was too. So was Katie. We weren't taking big trips and like going to Turks and Caicos and doing those kinds of things when we started, but coaching was impacting our life. And if you're not talking about it, people aren't going to want to do it, right? And Abby always says this, like it takes, like if you make a post about coaching or stories, you got to do it again. And you got to do it again. And you got to do it again. Like if you start making stories right now, like 2 or 3 stories a week, and you give an option to invite or whatever, it's going to take like 4 to 6 months for people to really, really like watch and listen and ask questions and convert to coaches. So don't let that discourage you. Let that encourage you. Like the work pays off, and quite honestly, it pays off when you least expect it. So
I will do kind of a mix too. Like if you guys go watch my stories, and again, I'm not the queen of this. There's a lot higher earners on this call on our team. But what's been working for me is I will do almost every day, not like I'd say every other for sure. Like I do a little Unfold series that's talking about my challenge groups, and I'll give them options, like, because right now I have like the general one, I have a morning meltdown one, and I always give like option 3 is join my team. And I give a little blurb about coaching in there every single day, even if I'm in like challenge group recruiting mode. And I've told my story at the beginning a little bit, like I was, went back to work 6 weeks postpartum, or sometimes I talk about how I stalked my coach for 3 months. I mean, I kind of weave little bits of my story in there, but I do share that Unfold series really, I'd say probably 4 times a week at least. But then I also do is like today, I went on, I don't usually talk for like 10 video squares on Instagram. It was a little much, but I went on this little monologue that talked about coaching, or I'll share different pieces of it. Just like, gosh, I'm so grateful I'm sitting on the couch with my kids right now. I would be at work usually. Or sometimes I do talk about income a little bit more boldly. So I weave it in different ways, but I always have kind of this like pretty text series too, that people come back to. But I don't feel like it's excessive in the sense that I'm mixing up how the message is coming through, but it is coming through very consistently. And so people are going to resonate with maybe a different way that I've shared it. Maybe someone responds when they've watched the whole monologue, and someone responds after the millionth time of seeing that same Unfold series come through or whatever. And Unfold is great if you guys aren't using that app, because it saves everything and you can just swap out the pictures or the text. So once you've done the work to really create something, you can go back in and edit it really easily and keep stuff fresh. So Katie or Kendra, did you guys have anything on that?
Yeah, I would agree with Unfold. I think it also makes your story look really professional. I don't know if you guys feel this way, but I remember really wanting to build my business and being really afraid about oversharing about coaching and, about coach life and everything I loved about it. And I was worried I was going to annoy people, or people wouldn't want to be friends with me anymore. And I just really, at the beginning part of my business, I really cared about that a lot. But if you're feeling that way, I want to encourage you in a couple different ways. Number one, the people that love you and care about you, they are going to be supportive and they're not going to be annoyed. And the people that don't really, know you, if they are, annoyed by you in any way possible, then they can just unfollow you. They don't have to follow you. They don't have to watch your stories every day. And, the other thing is, not everybody is on social media as much as we are. So don't ever feel like you're sharing too much, because there's so many times when I'm thinking, I've talked about this a million times. How did this person not see this? But because we are like, oh my gosh, I'm talking about this all the time, but they're not seeing everything, not everybody sees everything. So that's another reason why you do have to be really consistent in sharing. And I honestly feel like you can never share too much. And, the people that don't want to see it, they don't have to see it. That's the great thing about social media. They just unfollow us. So I just want to encourage you guys, if you're feeling that way, I felt that way too, and I totally get it. But post, talk about it, share.
I was thinking about this too. Like, I was thinking about this while I was walking. Why do infomercials work? Why do people sit up and order P90X in the middle of the night? Because they've seen the same infomercial like 16 times in the last week. And they're like, dang it, I'm just going to buy it. Right. And so like, that is like why we tell you guys, share your story, share it again, talk about coaching every day. You know, like the more that people see it, if you stop talking about it, they're going to just stop thinking about it. Right. So if you keep talking about it, even if it's the same, I mean, I share my transformation every Tuesday. People don't get tired of it. I just talk about it in a different way. Right. And so like, it's a visual reminder that, hey, she did it. Maybe I could too. So, you know, like, yeah, Abby and I don't talk about the fact that we surpassed our college salary, you know, but we do talk about the fact that we used to live paycheck to paycheck, or we used to have to drop our kids off at school. And, you know, when we wanted them to be at home with us, or I used to miss Carline. I haven't talked about that in a long time. I need to do Carline again, you know. Those are things that would have made me say, I want to be a coach if I saw somebody living the life over and over that I knew I wanted to live.
And if you guys aren't there yet, I mean, I know like Tamika, you're, I think, driving to work right now to go pull an ER shift. Find the little wins. Find the small victories. I would talk about picking up my son from daycare. I told this to you guys before, I think, and buying a $2 hot chocolate. It was like our tradition. We'd go through every day of the drive-through, and he was 3, so he couldn't really tell me about his day, but we'd, you know, jabber about it. And I would post about that fairly often, how I was grateful to have a little bit of extra income come in. That was a special time for him. Now, it was a $2 drink, guys. It was not like an income post, but it was something where I was like, I know there's other working moms out there who will resonate with this, and the fact that I'm working hard to build a dream is going to come true. So just, it doesn't have to be like you've made it. People relate so much more to the messy middle and the people who are just a teeny bit ahead of them, which is where you guys are at. And I will tell you this, I have a girl who I need to email back tonight, but she messaged me, she's ready to jump into a challenge group. She's a real life friend, guys. Known her since college. She has watched every single one of my stories for 2 years, every single one. And I post a lot of stories a day. You guys follow me. I have invited her so many times. She's always said no. And she finally messaged me out of the blue yesterday and was like, I started bawling when I saw your last morning meltdown story. I'm ready. I feel like a whale. I don't even know what to do postpartum. And I've invited her postpartum even. But something finally clicked, and it took her 2 years of watching that. And so you never know when what you share is going to hit home for someone and when they're going to be ready to meet you and to have what you have to offer. So you just have to keep showing up for yourself. And that's the beauty of what we get to do.
Yeah, I love that.
And one more thing on that so often this is where the comparison game really gets to us, especially as we share about coaching or we share about transformations, is that so I don't have a huge transformation story. And so in the beginning of my coaching, I was super afraid to talk about that because I thought, why would someone come to me over someone else who's had this massive physical transformation? And again, it's all about mindset. And just because I didn't have a huge physical transformation like so many, and it's so powerful, it doesn't mean that my life hasn't been transformed. My heart hasn't been transformed. My marriage. You guys, I shared with you in the beginning that I was a widow at 35, and learning how to redo my life after my husband died and not have to go to the gym or stress about the fact that as a single mom, I couldn't get to the gym because I'm the only one taking care of my 3 kids, but I could work out at home. And that allowed me to be healthier as I dealt with my grief. Whatever it is, you can spin your story because your story matters. And I think that's part of what has been so powerful for me about coaching, and something I just have to talk more about, that coaching also reminds us that our story is powerful and it's not like anyone else. God created each one of us differently, and there's people out there who need me as a coach, who need Abby as a coach, and Rachel and Katie, and they need you. And we don't have to compete for the same people. We just have to share our story and how this business changed our life, how fitness, the programs have changed our life and our minds and our souls. And that's what people connect with. So don't ever feel like your story isn't as powerful as somebody else's, so therefore you don't have much to share. Because you do, even if it's not a dramatic one.
So true. And I'll say too, like there's been posts that I've shared, like, you know, my husband and I would never exchange gifts with each other because I was just like, we don't have the money to spend, you know, but I always wanted to get him like a really nice gift. I'm like, he works so hard. He does so much for our family, but we just didn't have the extra money. And that was one of the things that I was really excited about was coaching. I was like, I'm finally going to like get to that point where I'm going to have that extra money and I can actually buy my husband something that he really wants. And I remember this past birthday, I bought him a flat screen, big, like the biggest TV he's wanted. And I talked about the first time we bought a flat screen TV and I wanted to kill him. Like I literally thought I was going to vomit. He came home with it and I was like, what are you doing? We cannot afford this. It was like the worst feeling ever. I'll never forget it. And to be able to, you know, have coaching and to be able to surprise him with a gift like that was huge. And yes, it wasn't like, you know, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 or whatever, but that post that I put out there, I could not believe the amount of people that responded to that post. You know, saying that, oh my gosh, like they don't exchange gifts because they can't afford it and they know that feeling and it's the worst feeling. And, you know, it's not always easy to share about, you know, financial hardships and stuff like that. I feel like a lot of people have a hard time with that, but I don't know anybody that doesn't go through times like that or doesn't need extra money in their life. You know, and it's just like, even the little things, like I remember buying myself, I always wanted Tory Burch shoes. And they're super expensive. And I was like, we can't afford something like that. But I like really nice things and I have expensive taste, but I haven't always had the budget to match my taste. And being able to buy a pair of my first Tory Burch sandals. And I was like, this is so amazing, you know? And just like little things like that. I mean, when I talked about that, people were like, oh my gosh, I've been wanting Tory Burch forever, but I don't make enough money. And I would love to be able to afford to buy myself a pair of shoes that I really want. You know, just like those little things that you think may not be a big deal, but if they're a big deal to you and they're exciting to you, then they're going to be a big deal and exciting to other people. You know, being able to pay off one of our huge student loans, like being able to help my husband tackle that and get that down was huge for us, a huge, huge relief. And, you know, talking about that because that was one of my goals for a really long time. And it took a really long time for us to do that, but eventually it happened, you know. And I think one of the things is I talked about that, you know, at the very beginning of my coaching when I wasn't making that kind of income, but I shared those goals, those financial goals, and my friends and followers that were following me from the beginning, and they saw that actually happen a year later, 2 years later, 4 years later, they were like, oh my gosh, you know, she's been talking about this for so long. It took her a while to get there, but she made it happen. And I think that's really important too, because I was talking about those dreams and goals way before I had that kind of money. And I think that it's awesome to be able to share that with people and have them watch you work. And it's not something that happens overnight, you know, but I think that they also see like, okay, this business takes hard work, you know, this business takes time. But I think if you have goals and dreams with this business, do not be afraid to share that with people, because when they see you achieve those goals, they are going to be like so excited and cheering you on, and you're going to give them the belief that they're able to achieve those things for their own lives. And, so really, like, don't, like, no matter how new you are, how early in the stages of you are, like, talk about those opportunities and dreaming again with coaching, that coaching's allowing you to dream again and set goals and share with people what those are. You know, I think that's really important too.
So I know I want to shout out, like, I think McKenna, is your pod doing a sneak peek together?
Yes, we are.
That is awesome. So, like, we've given you guys a lot of things tonight. Like, I want to challenge you now to take action. And what I want to challenge you guys to do, and you're welcome to, I mean, obviously I want to know from my team, like, what you're doing, but there is nothing better than, like working with people that are right where you're at and saying, hey, let's do this. I'm going to do this. Let's challenge each other to do this. So I want to challenge you guys in your pods. Hopefully, is everybody's pod working well? I mean, I don't want to call anybody out or put anybody on the spot, but good. Like challenge each other. Say, we're going to talk about coaching every day, and you blast ideas and you share ideas, you share templates, you share wording. Like, guys, this is why we put you together, not to create more work, but to lessen the load and to be more creative together. Like I swear, like I would not be where I'm at today without my success pods. Like we share so much. So this week, like we want you guys to get to Success Club now, like immediately, like do that, knock it out, follow up. If you didn't watch my call from the Dream Team on Monday night, go watch that. I gave lots of tips for that. Good. Poppin' Pod number 4. That's so funny. I love it. But just start. You have to start. People are going to not respond to your coaching polls. People are not going to comment and like on your coaching posts. You just have to expect it, especially if they're very blatant and obvious. Like, I love being a coach because, but if you work it into like real life, like people are drawn more to like the fitness side of what we do. They're very scared by the coaching. So expect that. Don't let that make you run away and hide. But also when it comes to coaching, just like with your fitness side of it, be yourself. Be funny, be engaged, be like whatever it is, like Katie said, how many people can relate to like, I wanted to buy a pair of Tory Burch shoes. Like that was like one of my biggest goals. Don't be afraid to share that stuff. But I know we all want you guys to be taking action. So like I'm challenging you, talk about coaching in your stories every day. It can be anything. You take a picture of this and make a post right now in your stories. That's a coaching story, right? People love community. They're like, if I become a coach, how am I going to do it? Well, look, we're training each other to do it, right? So like set a goal, and then at least I would say, what do you guys think? 2 times a week, 3 times a week, do an invite series? Anybody have any thoughts? Okay, Abby says 3. I'm going with Abby. She's 3. So that's your goal this week, and like pop it in our Level Up group. Definitely challenge each other, share your stuff in your pods, but show us in your Level Up group. Like we want to see you guys succeed, and it really and truly comes down to just taking what we've given you and taking action on it. What about the list that we challenged you guys to make last week, the one about on Instagram, like your ideal coach kind of thing? Did y'all do that? You know what I'm talking about?
I did 5 people, and then I started looking at people, and I don't really, I don't know. I know you guys kind of explained how to pick who we want and whatever, but I just kept getting stalled out, and that's kind of how I get stalled out with and I know that you guys already talked about this, but the invites and stuff, my kids are going absolutely crazy right now. So
okay.
With the like who to invite and all that every single day, that just throws me off too. But anyway, and I guess that comes from following more people, finding more people. So anyway.
Yeah, and honestly, just creating real conversations. Like it comes down to just having real conversations. I do invite people who watch my stories I've never talked to, but mostly it's people who are like, I connect with them first, and I'm like, hey, thanks for watching my crazy life. Like, it's a hot mess over here. We love it, but it's wild. Are you following me for my family, my faith, my fitness, whatever? And I just say, no matter what, thanks for being part of my community, whatever. And so like usually people respond to that. They're like, oh, your kids are so cute, or you're so organized, or you're so diligent, and that's a really easy way to start a real conversation with people and easily lead into what we do.
Rachel, can I say something real quick?
Mm-hmm.
So I've been doing, I think it was Abby that talked about this last week, but where you post and then you spend like 20 minutes engaging with people. And that's done wonders for me just this week, just with creating more of those genuine conversations. Because if you're just commenting on the stuff that their life's about, they usually comment back, and then that opens the door to just talk about more stuff. And then eventually you just lead to talking about fitness because that's what you do and that's what they see. So it's been really helpful to do that and just to spend time doing that. And that's been helpful.
Yay, I'm so glad. It's like that concept of being social on social media, if you thought. Like,
yeah.
One thing I wanted to share that's kind of been working well for me, I think Rachel knows I've been doing this, and I can't remember if I shared, but I've done 2 of them so far. So I don't know, but I'm trying something a little different with coaching sneak peeks. And so far out of the 2 of them, I've gotten 2 working coaches each time, which for me is a lot. And so what I've done, and you guys don't necessarily have to have an Instagram sneak peek page set up to do this. This is just how I'm utilizing it. But I will talk that I'm hosting a sneak peek. I've been doing this now twice, and I'm going to try to do it every 2 weeks. So I share about it in my stories. I do a little story series. I was like, all right, girlfriend, I see you stalking me. You know, are you wondering how I blah, blah, blah. Hosting a sneak peek tomorrow. Drop your email if you want the info. And I keep directing them to follow me at my coaching sneak peek page, just so it's like a smaller group that I know. Again, you don't have to do that piece of it, but I get their email, most importantly. And I'm just, like, for me, I only invited the 30 gals that were following that coaching sneak peek page that are not like my team or something, but like actual people. And I just sent them a message and I said, hey, I so appreciate, you know, that you've taken the time to follow this and learn a little bit more about what I'm doing here. I don't post on that page a lot, guys. It just kind of is the content that's there. I'm doing a sneak peek. Can you let me know your email and I will be sure to send you the link. It's tomorrow night at 6 p.m., whatever it is. Then I email them the link, and in the sneak peek that I do, it's just me. And I do not go over what is coaching, who makes a good coach, what time can you spend on it, like all the bullet points that I used to do. I literally just tell them like, hey, I'm going to share with you guys my story. I would love for you to put any preconceived notions about like what coaching is or what you're not sure because something drew you here, and just listen and see if this could be something that impacts your life. And I tell them where I was 4 years ago. I talk about the fears that I had because honestly, they were probably all the same ones that they did, of time and introvert, and I don't do social media, you know, yada, yada, yada. So I just share my story briefly. And guys, I let myself out hardcore. I talk how I talk. I don't put on makeup and I'm in my hot workout clothes. My kids are running. Like, I just am my real self. And I get so excited. And I say like, oh, this is who I'm looking for. If you could use community like this, like all you do is you're sharing your story. You don't have to be an expert. Like, we're going to teach you, but I just kind of weave in like your goal is going to be to help 3 people every single month. Like, that's where you start out and you're going to grow your network. But I don't really get bogged down by like the factoids. And then what happens is I feel like the people that connect with that, they're going to be my tribe, right? And both times that I've done this, I had 12 people give me their emails. I had 4 people on the call every time. So not a huge group. And 2 of those girls each week converted into discount coaches. And the one from 2 weeks ago has actually hit Success Club in July at the end of the month and is hitting it tonight. So she is on a roll. And both of them privately emailed me their specific questions about, like, some of them were about training and some of them were a little bit more about time management. But they were so specific to them that I felt like if I would have spent the whole call doing FAQs on here's the training and here's Success Club and here's the compensation plan, they would have gotten lost because they weren't the questions that they had. They wanted to hear my heart. They wanted to hear my story. They wanted to connect with my passion and my vision for my team. And then I was able to come behind the scenes and answer their specific things. And then what I did afterwards is I sent off the recording to everybody who had given me their email, because there was like 12 girls that weren't able to get on, right? And so I was like, hey, here's the email. I'll follow up with you tomorrow. Watch it. Let me know if you have questions. 2 of them are interested. I haven't heard from the rest, so I'm just going to keep inviting them every time I do this. But I would encourage you to do something like that. Hopefully it works for you. It's been working for me. But even just to have, if nobody shows up, guys, the first 5 coaching sneak peeks I did, no one ever showed up. But you show up and record yourself with as much excitement as you would if there were 20 people on, and save it and put it on YouTube, and you can use it and utilize it to send people who have questions. So I just wanted to share because that's been working well for me. And I feel like it's more resonating with like my tribe as opposed to just inviting anyone and everyone into coaching. So am I going to do a Zoom? Oh yeah, I'm doing a Zoom call. Yep, I just send them the Zoom link. I keep it about 35 minutes. So it's not very long. And then I just record it on my computer and I uploaded it to YouTube. So I have the recording.
Have we a couple of logistical questions? So you created an Instagram page for coaching.
Yep.
And that's where you send people. And if they follow you and send you their email, then you send them the link for the Zoom call. So sometimes, like those last couple times, you had 4 people on. At the beginning, you just said you. Okay, that's kind of cool. I like that.
Yeah, and you don't have to, I mean, I use the Instagram template that Rachel got from Megan Blinka, and she can share it in here too. It's nothing fancy. You don't have to have the coaching sneak peek page. The reason I was doing it is I felt like it was a little bit of a filter, and then they could hang out in there and read the info that I had while, like, in the couple days before the call started. So that's why I did that. But you could just collect their emails too. And you could definitely go and invite, but instead of inviting all 170 people who might have liked my coaching post, I went through the people who I knew were actually interested. And you could do that with your challengers. You know, you can handpick people and just say like, hey, I'm not really talking about this because I want it to be a select few, but I'm doing this call. I'd love, you know, just to share your heart and get excited. And you don't have to have all of the FAQs, but just kind of sharing with people. What I tried to really emphasize, because I'm sick of coaches quitting when things get hard, and that's been like the theme of my last year, is I tried to emphasize like my job as a coach is to share my story boldly on social media, the ups and the downs, and to show up every day in the trenches. And my girls in my challenge groups, they know that I love to eat ice cream still. I'm not giving that up, and I'm not asking you to be perfect. What I'm asking you to do is to commit to yourself and just share that journey. And I'm going to come alongside you as your mentor coach, and I'm going to plug you into the resources that are going to help you grow. And so your goal is going to be 3 new people a month. And honestly, those people at first are probably going to be your best friend, and you're going to reach out to her and say, you know, hey, Susie, I just started this crazy 100-day program. I could really use the accountability. Do you want to do this with me? And I actually gave them invite examples in there without being like, and here's your invite example, but just kind of in a flow of like a conversation, so that I felt like, okay, they knew what they were getting themselves in for, and they knew kind of the vibe that they were going to get on my team. So if that helps at all. And I don't know, I've only done it twice, so it could bomb, I don't know, but it's been working fairly well for me, at least the last 2 times.
Hey, Abby, did you say you advertise the like call in your stories too, or is it just more like you talk about coaching? Who wants information?
I talked about it. I did a story series specifically about the call 2 times that week. And then I just talked about it casually in my stories. I was like, I'm so excited. Like, I'm a hot mess, but I'm going to go do this call. If you want in, like, drop your email. And then today I came back because I did one a couple days ago and I forgot to. So today I came back and said like, hey, here's why I'm so passionate about coaching. And if you're resonating with this at all, I actually just did a call. I can send you the recording. Drop your email here. So I was still kind of plugging it a couple days later. But I tried to make it feel a little bit more exclusive in the sense that I talked about it, but then was like, you have to go, like, you have to give me your email and I will send you a personalized invite if that's what you're interested in. So.
Abby, I think it's really important that you said for the first 5 times, nobody showed up.
Yeah.
Because I think we tend to, if it doesn't work on the first or second time, we're like, oh, this doesn't work. And I love, that's a great reminder to me. It's a great reminder to all of us that 5 times nobody showed up. Like, you can do this great story. You can create this incredible looking story and no one can respond to anything. And that's okay. You just keep doing it, because remember, you guys, in this business, we're not committing to like, oh, this is, you know, I'm only going to stick with this if it works. You either believe in what we do as coaches or you don't. And if you believe in it, then you're not going to walk away when it's hard, because you know that that means a life that you're supposed to impact is not going to be impacted. So when we switch our mindset to that, then all right, so nobody shows up for 5 times. That can be totally discouraging. Nobody's saying that's not discouraging, but we have to push through that discouragement and be like, but someday someone will show up.
And it gives you 5 times of practicing what you're going to say. And that's awesome, because I love public speaking and I did it a lot for my previous job, but I know for a lot of people, the thought of doing a Zoom call, leading it, probably terrifies you. So it gives you some good practice, and that's great. You can learn it.
I just want to add one more thing in really quick, because I know we've gone over our time. If you guys are freaking out about Abby's suggestion about doing the Zoom call, first of all, that's completely normal. And I feel like we've all had that feeling of like, I'm not doing that. What if I don't know the answer to the question? What if I, especially when you're a newer coach. One piece of advice I will give you guys, and you can do this with your pod, you can do this on your own. Don't invite anybody to your sneak peek. Record it and share on your story. If you guys missed the sneak peek that I hosted, drop your email and I can send you the recording of the sneak peek I did. And you can get a practice in before you actually do a real one, if that will help you kind of get over your nerves. And then you're talking about it, you're sharing it, and then, you get that practice in before you actually host a live one with real people. And that, that could just help you kind of just build that confidence and not feel so nervous that, and what you can do is have, because Kendra and I have done this before, you can have a list of the most asked questions that people ask about coaching and go through that list and, keep it short, keep it 20 minutes, and answer those questions and just be like, these are the most asked questions that I'm getting, and answer them. And then that's the video that you'll record and share with people before you actually do one that you start inviting people to. But you got to do it. You got to do it.
What, really quick before we leave, you guys can just type in the chat bar. Are there things that you would love for us to cover the rest of the week to help you guys hit your goals that you are having questions on or want us to kind of go into more depth on before we let you guys go? Or you can unmute too. Because we have some ideas, but we just want to make sure you're really focusing on Success Club this week and actually taking some big action.
Yeah, like what do you guys need examples on? What are you stuck on? What do you need help? Like what are your pain points? Give them to us.
And that's one thing. Kathy said she got lots of ideas from this call. Like, I'm the worst at leaving a call, and I've got this page full of notes. I'm like so excited. Now we get tomorrow and I freeze. So like, just start with one. Like, start with one. Maybe you make a story series that you're going to post and invite, or maybe you make your IG What is Coaching page, or you schedule a call. Just choose one and then just build on it. But you got to do it over and over again. Don't just try it once and then say it didn't work. Do it over and over again. No, actors. Okay, Ashley. Maybe like in our group, share some invites that you're sending, and maybe we can look at that and see if it's maybe the wording or something you could change. For sure.
She can post in there. I think she'll have to comment on a post.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. Is that it? Is that the only pain points?
We have people comment under when we post the recording for this.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be good. Okay.
Oh yeah. You guys can put your your pain points and things you'd like us to share things about or help you with. You can comment below that video. That would be great.
Yeah, we'll tackle that tomorrow. Okay.
All right. Who wants to do a fun little boomerang again? I know last time we did the waving. What are you guys going to do this time? We're not dabbing.
What? Dabbing?
I can't even do it right.
Level up.
Level up.
I think Grace the Roof was going to show our age.
Okay. Ready?
Okay, ready?
I'm going to do two. Or Katie, are you doing them?
Yeah, we can both do them.
Okay. Ready? And go. Awesome.
Oh yeah, this is fun.
Let me just pray for us before we let you guys go really quick. Heavenly Father, I just thank you for these women, for these leaders who are pursuing your call in their lives, who are here to change lives and to be brave and to be bold and to take these steps that everyone might doubt them, but they know that they're called to do. And I just ask this week, God, that you would empower us, that you would encourage and inspire those that are feeling tired or worn down, that you would bring people very clearly into their life this week that will encourage them in these things, that they would see who needs them to be helped or who needs their help and be able to do that. And God, I just ask that you would give each of these gals the boldness and the just the call, that deep purpose that we're all searching for, Lord. I just ask that you give that to them. And I thank you for this time. And I thank you for all that you're going to do this week. In your name, amen.
Amen. Amen.
All right. Awesome. Thank you, ladies.
Bye.
Bye.